skipped over sort of the question that came from the floor about mitigation and when the actual building process.
I'll come on to that. I made it at the last bit. Sorry, but I haven't forgotten it, but I made it the last bit. It didn't fit in very well in terms of... Sorry.
Could I ask something about the modelling?
Yeah.
I imagine the usual thing is that you set a number of outcomes for this parametric modelling, and the outcomes are largely in terms of the alternatives and what kind of delay will be caused at particular times of the day. I've looked today at the parametric model as it was applied to Richard's Corner, and it is reasonably understandable to me how the delays would be would work out with different assumptions and different in this case I think there's only one alternative model. Is this the same process? In other words, you set a number of outcomes which are essentially delays to traffic at presumably peak times in the day, and these become the key outcomes to consider the various options.
I'm sure I'll be corrected if I'm wrong. No, you come from the other end. What you do is, so the question is, do we set the parameters in terms of delay outcomes we want, and that gives us the sort of...
Sorry, I didn't mean that.
Right.
It may come out.
Okay, well, no, we don't. The way it works is we know what the flows of traffic are, we know what the projected flows, but the only projected flows will be in 2031. We know what the options are for different layouts, and it actually models the flows through those different options and tells you what the delays, the queue lengths and so on are for those different options.
In the modelling, will it consider modelling of fast journeys for the entire journey, say through to Dragonbrooks?
Well, it will run we will also, so what we'll do is we model the individual junctions to see what the delays are at the individual junctions, but we also model the full length of Milton Road, not all the way through. So the full length of this scheme we will model, because this scheme's looking at the potential delays here. I know where you're coming from, that once you get then to Mitcham's Corner, what then happens?
Yes, I think anyone here would say if you increase traffic in Cambridge by 30% and you're trying to get to Dragonbrooks, any saving in Milton Road will completely into
what city access? The unfortunate thing is you've got to start somewhere. You can't do that. If we were to suggest we did the whole of the city in one go, then you just wouldn't be able to do it. So you've got to make it into bite-sized chunks. City access are actually in June, very early June, because we don't want to run into the university holidays. They're doing a full automatic number plate count, so that will give us origin and destination, running right out from the M11, right into the city, going out the other side, coming up to Milton Road. We will know exactly, only by vehicle, and it will not give us vehicle number, so you're all right there, only by vehicle, where a vehicle comes in, and then where a vehicle exits. And if there's a time delay, a set time, we'll know that vehicle's gone somewhere in the city. The key with that is we'll know, so exactly the question you're asking, we will know what's happening from coming off Milton Road, and for those vehicles that then want to go to Adambrooks. But it'll tell us even more than that. It'll tell us those that want to go to West Cambridge, and tell us those that want to go to the airport, and perhaps right through to Hayhill, somewhere like that.
But shouldn't you sort out the overall strategy first? Because I would say you should build it. But surely, whenever you do something like this, you start with a strategy, and then you build the bits at a time within a strategy.
The strategy for the city centre is a 10-15% reduction in traffic on 2011 figures. So that is the strategy. The means to achieve that strategy are various. It's a bit like this. We have a strategy for Milton Road, which is about improving access along Milton Road, particularly for public service vehicles, for buses and public transport. The actual means to do that is the whole purpose of being here. If we come up with the detail with city access, then we would be accused of not involving people, and there's all sorts of things. So demand management in terms of parking, in terms of control parking. There's been talk about workplace parking levy, which is where businesses are charged for having car parks for their own employees. That's been used in Nottingham. So we're looking at a load of means, but the strategy is a 10 to 15% reduction. That's the strategy for
I have a question to ask, but I would like to allow you to finish your presentation.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm nearly done, and then I come back. It is straight on to questions after this.
Yeah.
So, just very quickly, early mid-June, we're coming back to you. We will have that modelling. The 6th of then, following on from that, we will be working up the scheme, we'll be working up the report. The 6th of July is the deadline because the Assembly actually meets a week before, so we publish the papers earlier than we would normally publish them just for the board. And that's a point. I mean, I don't want to get into, Lewis will actually come back, I'm sure, on the June meeting, but the June Assembly meeting was the day before the general election. And that's one of the killers. So I know there are issues there and people say we'll move that, but it's not as straightforward, unfortunately. But I'll let Lewis come back and answer that one. On the 19th of July then there is the joint Assembly meeting, and then on the 26th is the Executive Board. And I know that Jocelyn will be there representing you as the chair of the LLF and putting the views of the LLF forward. But you'll have seen the report anyway, so that report will be available. You'll have had input into that process in early June, late June, which just in terms of the Executive Board report, so what it will do, it will review the delivery priorities of Milton, primarily Milton Road. It will do the evaluation of those priorities on the do optimum. It will respond, but you've had our thoughts on the responses already to the LLF resolutions, and most of those, if not all, who said yes. Maybe one or two with slight caveats. Recommendations on any changes that might come about. I have to say the one thing that comes out more than anything else is that the compromise, the thing that's been lost in the proposal on the do optimum is bus lanes. So we're losing bus lanes, we're not gaining them, we're losing them. So that's something we have got to try and incorporate. The need for mitigation, side road parking, and the impact of through traffic, and then it will also identify the next steps. I mean, after that, it will go out full consultation. So the amount of consultation on this, and the LLF will be involved in the detailed design. So there are a lot more stages. The input, the potential for input is great on this. I mean, this is the first time I've been anywhere where the LLFs have virtually started from day one and being involved. It is really, you might not feel it's felt that way, but you know, seriously, from what's happened elsewhere that I've seen, I'm not saying that's right, but the input here is great compared to what I've seen elsewhere. And then we'll update the project programme. So we are looking for 2020. I'm not saying it will take what it takes, because some of the questions earlier about is our funding secure? The answer to that is yes, City Deal has been signed. The slight caveat to that is that every 5 years you've got to go through a gateway review, and that's in 2019, although we're looking to try and tie it in with the combined authority, which is 2020. So, you know, you've got to be hitting what the money was given for. So that is the slight caveat on the money, but the money is there, the money is secure. We just need to hit the objectives for City Deal. Okay, so in terms of the one final question, so it brings on questions. Just the one point, when we do any scheme, so when you get to the detailed design, the first thing, the one prime thing you've got to do is make sure that you've got buildability, called the CDM regs, Construction Design Management Regulations. Part of that is ensuring the traffic management is sound. Part of the traffic management is looking to see what impacts that has elsewhere on the network. I'm not saying that you can achieve a major thing like Milton Road without causing some delays, because I think the realism is there will be some delays. What I can assure you is that there is a full process round trying to mitigate those delays, trying to ensure the working arrangements, maximise the working arrangements. But then if you're a resident on Milton Road, you're not going to be overly impressed if someone starts winding up at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning. You might accept it for 5 days, but on a Saturday morning, you may well not. I wouldn't be happy. You might not be happy at 8 o'clock at night. So it's getting those compromises. But those are the things that we look at. Trying to maximise the works, maximise the throughput through the site, keeping the site safe for the operatives. It is a full process that we go through. It's as detailed as the detailed design. Okay. I know there was a question.
Yeah,
Yeah, because... Sorry, and I know there's a few questions and I will not I'll come out of the floor.
While you're debating how long we go on for, I'll start with a question. Very comprehensive. Thank you very much indeed for all of that. Right at the start, there was a worry thrown into my mind by your statement that we know that traffic congestion is going to increase by 30%. Well, I don't know, we do. Every time you can hear something behind Brexit or the French elections on the news, it's talking about changes in pattern of vehicle ownership and vehicle use. And it may well be that private car usage would drop away anyway, quite apart from the measures which you are very sensibly going to put into place. What account is being taken of potential and probable changes in vehicle usage?
Okay, thank you for that. Can I first, just my fault, apologies for this, introduce Paul. Paul was introduced very early on by Jocelyn, but Paul is the project manager for Milton Road. He's new on the job, so he comes with a fresh pair of eyes, and he will now be leading on this and supporting me in making sure we come up with a scheme that's something that you wish to see for the future. Going back to the point, it is only a projection. What we're working on is we know that we're going to get an extra 40,000 houses. We know there's going to be a massive development up at Waterbeach, which is going to directly affect Milton Road. So we can only project on what we know and what past history has been. And the only time that traffic has reduced in past history is when we had the recession in 2007. And then traffic steadied, and then traffic's grown again. So I'm not saying it's a science that we can say is going to be, I can predict categorically it will be a 30% increase. But what I can tell you is, over the years, there has been a steady increase no matter what we've done in traffic volumes. And there's nothing to suggest that unless we provide something different, an alternative, there's nothing to suggest that that will alter. I'm not saying, you know, you could say in 15 years' time, well, Chris, you were wrong. But certainly at the moment, based on past history, that's always been the case. It's increased, it's not gone down.
But I don't think that will do, because things are changing. For the first time since the introduction of private motor car ownership, things appear to be changing. And you must, if you're going to engineer on this scale, you must look at it.
What we're looking to do is to provide alternative means. So if something's going to change, there's got to be an alternative mean. That's what we're looking to provide. We're looking to provide buses. I mean, in the future, we're also looking at, some of you may have come across in the press and so on, Advanced Rapid Transit, AVRT, which is basically narrow underground tunnels with narrow buses that run from a point to a point, and then you get off and get on at another point, but underground. So we are looking at other options. But I think the other thing that I would say, people will say, so as communication improves, then the need for transport will go down. That just hasn't happened. As communication has improved, as we've got telephone, as we've got Skyping and things like that, the need for transport has gone up at the same pace as communications have gone up as well. It just hasn't changed, it just hasn't gone down. And if the people who have lived on Milton Road, I asked the question, have you seen an increase in traffic over the years?
It's going down.
Going down?
The figures say it is going down.
I stand corrected if that's what I say. Sorry?
That's public transport.
Yeah.
You station north of Cambridge.
I'm looking for one in the south.
It can get you from the north to the south,
Yeah.
CP1, centre employment CP1, Addenbrooke centre employment. So why do you want to get all these people from Waterbeach, go through the centre of Cambridge to CP1? It's one train.
We are doing that, but I mean, putting a station in takes years.
But we're looking at 2030.
Yes, we are.
So
We are.
are you factoring that potential change in pattern of transport into your figures for road transport? It will affect it. Will train transport affect road transport?
It will if you have a steady state. If your population stays the same and there's no more travel, of course it will. Yes, it will. But your population's going up. There's a view to increase the population of Cambridge. That's what City Deal has been given for.
Where, can you tell me, please, where are the centres of employment that these buses are supposed to serve? Can you tell me?
Addenbrooke, West Cambridge, Geno Park.
So to go from there, from the Science Park direction all the way to a central town.
This is the point I was making earlier. It's about the city access is part and parcel of the whole thing, but we've chunked it to make it manageable. So yes, we are looking at that.
Good. Could we have the question down here, and then there's a question here? Sorry.
Reduces the access. How you have to increase road capacity by 30%?
Right. Could we have that question answered after the gentleman down there, because he's had his hand up for a long time, and then there's somebody down here, and then we'll come back to that question that was asked about the city centre access.
Okay.
Thank you. Could I make 2 points? I think that I'd like to compare Milton Road with the villages in South Cambridgeshire. And if we go out into the villages in South Cambridgeshire, what we see are width restrictions. So on entering the village, there are things like chicanes and that kind of thing. And then we get flashing speed signs and speed humps and such like. And that is to discourage people who do not live in the village from going through the village, and it is to enhance the quality of life of the people who live in the village high street. What I think that the people here are the equivalent of people in the village high street. And all of the presentations that I've seen are relate to people who want to go through the village high street. And this is the contrast that I see if I go out into the villages. Secondly, picking up on Councillor Bradman's point regarding the modelling, what I would very much like to see is some modelling that shows what Milton Road is like at the moment. Because I think that we would actually have some confidence in modelling if you could actually model Milton Road at the moment and demonstrate where the queues are with the present situation, and then we would have some confidence in the improvements which you're hoping to improve. And I'm sorry, as a design engineer of 40 odd years standing, that is precisely the point I would start from. It's you start from the known and then you move to the unknown with modelling and with all sorts of design. Thank you very much.
It's like question time. Taking the last point first, I think one of the things we did show up was we have a do-nothing model. So we will have a do-nothing model.
Sorry,
in terms of...
quick interjection, that do-nothing model says that buses will take 29 minutes longer to go down Milton Road if you do nothing. I'm sorry, with 29 minutes, people will go another way. They won't go down Milton Road. So I'm sorry, I don't accept the do-nothing model. I can take the whole evening. I suggest that what we do is to exchange cards at the evening.
Okay.
Well, could we proceed in this way? If we have 3 questions and then one answer to the whole 3 questions, if you will be able to remember what they are. We've got here and over there, and then there's somebody up the back, and I know that there's let's have 4. Yes, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm getting old. And I'm a man, I can't multitask.
Thanks very much for the presentation. Would you mind if I ask a question, and I know it's somewhere down the line, more about delivery in public realm than about the project, which is partly that, for example, when I go down Green End Road and Green End Road cycles, what I said is, can I ask a question about delivery, which I know is a little way down the line, and so it's not really about the project phase. But when I go down Green End Road and the Citadel cycle scheme, which has just been delivered down there, essentially, however good the cycle scheme is, it's just been put on top of what is an absolutely awful surface. And it's quite clear it's going to degrade again. So if I am, as I am a resident of Milton Road, I know that the pavements are absolutely appalling. I know the road surface is absolutely appalling. I know that the drainage is absolutely appalling, particularly if you walk up from the co-op going up towards Fraser Road. So what I'd like to understand is when the scheme comes in, whatever it involves, will it involve thoroughly sort of taking off and completely resurfacing the road, sorting out all the drainage, and completely doing extremely good public realm on the pavement as well, so that we don't end up with what we've got in Green End Road, which is, you know, very poorly painted over cycle lanes that are clearly going to deteriorate, and pavements that people have been trying to get fixed for a long time and have been left completely untouched and things like that.
Now, let's do not answer yet, because we're having the question about, I'm writing down the city access. Perhaps if you ask the question again about the city access, so that we can all hear. Thank you.
Well, I have several questions really, but the question I put first was if we're aiming for a 10-15% reduction in access to the city centre, why do we need to account for a 30% increase in traffic capacity along Milton Road? But my second point is, I now see we have an optimum solution. Was that the phrase? I mean, when I look at the Cambridge City website, I see a do something, a do maximum, a do nothing. Where do I find details of this do optimum system on the website?
Okay, right now, I can write up the back here. The others is coming shortly, somebody write up the back there. Yes.
I just want to ask, are all the people who are going to live in the new villages want to go into Cambridge every day? Why would they?
Thank you, and then here, with the current job.
My concern is that a huge amount of money, consultation, professional skills are being put into looking at and trying to resolve very small components of the overall total. Cambridge is no longer just the city. Masses of people live in the villages outside. I live in Mulberry Close, just off Mulberry Road. There are no buses after 6 o'clock, so I don't want to drive into the town centre, so effectively I can't participate in the evening economy easily. And that is even more true of people who live further up. All sorts of small improvements could be made out, I think, to reduce congestion. But we really ought to be thinking of the overall picture, because, for example, if I want a tradesperson to come and do something for me, they say we can't come until at least after 10 o'clock, because the vehicle traffic coming into Cambridge from the villages is so appalling. If you want to go to Ely for the day by public transport, it's practically impossible. If you go up to whatever it is, the interchange, there's a signpost saying that it's only 10 miles or something. But the buses coming from Ely through to us permanently late and so on. And the other thing is that the very few buses are sort of local to Cambridge that go up Milton Road. They're all coming from the Park and Ride or whatever. Park and Ride.
Sorry, could I answer that question and then we'll pass over to Chris? Because Andy Campbell, who is the head of Stagecoach, did make a commitment in my... Oh, is Andy I was going to repeat your commitment that...
You want me to make it?
If you will, please do, please do.
When they build 10,000 houses at Waterbeach, we will run frequent stopping service that will come down Milton Road, providing it doesn't take me an extra 29 minutes to get down Milton Road.
How many houses was that, Andy?
10,000.
Well, however many houses are built.
In the local plan.
However many houses are building. But in the meantime, there is a 9 service that stops on Milton Road every half hour. The reason there are no evening services going to villages and places like that is because insufficient people use them for them to cover their costs. And they used to be funded by Cambridge County Council. When their funding was cut in 2010, they took the decision to withdraw all evening and Sunday subsidised services. It is not a decision that was taken by Sid.
So you have it then from Andy Campbell's directly. Now, back to Chris. The question about the delivery in public realm and the Green End Road example of the changes that have been made, and yet the appalling footpath and problems underneath are remaining. Secondly, the access to the city centre. If what we're aiming for is a 10 to 15% reduction in the city centre, then why are we talking about a 30% increase along Milton Road? The second one there was, where do we find due optimum? And I know that everybody here on the table will be able to tell us the answer. And then, is all traffic coming into the city centre? Why are we assuming that everybody from Waterbeach is desperate to get into Cambridge every single day? And then, thirdly, yes, the issue of the villages and the buses after 6 p.m. and we've had a response here.
Okay, so taking the first one, yes, it would be, as we term, wall to wall. So it would be from your property wall to your opposite, across the road, property wall, the whole lot. And we'll be looking at high quality materials. We talked about the fly-through, we'll be doing visualisation so you can see that. The difference with the cycling was, it was just putting, as you said, just sticking a little bit on the road. So that's what we're looking to do. So that, you know, the environment will improve tremendously in terms of the streetscape environment. In terms of the 10-15%, what we're wanting to do is get people out of their cars and onto buses, because that makes them then use the buses or onto cycling. That makes them get out. That's the alternative, because if there isn't an alternative, and I mean, the lady there was saying, if you haven't got an alternative, you're stuck. You either use the car, or you use cycle, or you walk, if there isn't a bus there. What we're wanting to do is to maximise the number of people coming in on buses. And yes, there is issues about where they want to go to once we get into the city centre. But of course, what you can't accommodate is you can't accommodate every journey is going to have a bus from A to where their B is, because that's every individual. What we will be looking to do is to run buses through so that we can get to those sites that are the most preferred sites. So that's being looked at.